Hey guys, I'm back, and this is basically gonna be kind of like an update, like one of my old game dev um, updates that I used to do a little way back. So I'm actually working on a Windows HTML and Android, maybe an iOS title. So I actually I'm in the process of finishing it up with a teammate, but I went ahead to kind of do a continuation of my kind of like my hardcore third-person tutorial that I started. I think it was a couple weeks or a month back, and because this is it. I've been working on this for a while. We've been fine-tuning a whole bunch of stuff. Our issues mainly right now is the fact that texturing is not 100% awesome. We have cutouts, and it's really annoying. We don't have blending. We would like to have texture over texture painting ability and better blending and alpha channeling, but we're dealing with what we have, and we know the engine relatively well to work around or update it when Coppercube 6 comes out. So I'm going to be finishing up literally over the next week or two the advanced level third-person tutorials, and then I'll be actually showing you guys how to export that to an HTML site. So we're going to be putting this on two HTML sites. One of them off my head is Congregate, and then there's another site. I'll link it down below. We'll be publishing these games, and we're going to be publishing them on the Windows Store as a free app and Android as a free app. So I'm going to be going over kind of a sort of a recap of stuff, because we've changed up a whole bunch of stuff, and we're going to be doing some pretty not super advanced compared to other engines, but a lot of stuff that normally people haven't done yet in Coppercube that you would see normally in like Unity or Unreal. So like animated cutscenes. I know in the Windows version there might be voices that we're working on right now. We're actually recording some certain voices for certain scenes that we're going to be doing. On Android, we may or may not do cutscenes, just because we want the game to actually launch on as many game devices as possible. So we're trying to find not the lowest tier, but we're trying to find a tier to where, like a middle tier, to where low-end Android devices can play it, but it still looks good on your higher-end devices. So we're testing on a whole bunch of Android devices. We had one iPhone test, and it just works really well. So we might be porting it over to iPhone as soon as we have it on all the rest. And HTML, we got it running. Like this is our testing right now. If this one level works, all the rest of them will work automatically. I'm just working on effects, and I'm going to be putting in some enemies, some more some animated scenes are going to be. So you're going to see a whole bunch of cameras probably over at this crash site. Probably some test units and dead guys. And then some more animated scenes. So literally the animated scenes that you're going to see over at these three crash sites. So your ship, alien ship, a unidentified ship that we'll explain about that later. That's probably it for the animated scenes, but they're going to be pretty good. At least I'll hope they're going to be pretty good. I have expectations. Again, this is what we're working on. We like some alpha blending, so maybe we're going to be waiting for Coppercube 6 to come out, so we can import it into there and see what their terrain editor does. Because we like when it does work well. The blending is decent. It's just when it doesn't work well, it's kind of like, seriously, 90s engines and 80 game engines from the 80s and 90s work better than this. Let's get into what we're working on right now. So we have the main level. We're working on a kind of a cartoon setup, so we're not going to be like super high detailed, because we know we have some leeway, because yes, it's like it's a third-person shooter. It's cartoony, but we do want that to be still very well done. So we decided to go from the menu to an animated scene. So we'll go here. For some reason, it keeps on texturing itself. I have to fix that. We're going to work actually with an animated scene right here, which actually gets pretty, not advanced, but it deals with a lot of factors. And then we skip from our scene 3 to our new, we made a little change to the story, so it changes to this scene as our first scene where you crash, and we're going to actually animate the crash. So you're going to actually see, you might see an explosion depending on what the Copper Cube engine allows us to do. And then we get into some gameplay. You go into this facility, and then that's where you get to here. And then this is where you start playing, and then you start dealing with whatever the story is and whatever we continue on with the game. We're working on it, but we've built examples of all of the enemy AI and type stuff, so now we're just implementing it into the game. And I decided, hey, why not build a tutorial based off all those things, because we've been spending time on them. Again, why the videos haven't been ongoing as they used to be. So expect a bunch of videos for this series, especially with performance for Android devices. HTML is even harder on performance than Android is, because even on lower end devices you can play around with visibility. Right now I have visibility cut down, so if I go and I play let's play with the EXE, it's going to give me a whole bunch of more of it. It's going to give me better performance because it's running off of my editing rig. But with Android, you can cut down the camera's visibility, so you're rendering less polygons, so you can have more in the scene or within your camera's view, and whatever it doesn't see is not rendering. So as soon as it pulls up, I will show you that. Alright, so this is our scene right now. This is what your camera would see. So you can see some of the mountains are disappearing and kind of getting cut out. That's the render view. So it's kind of short right now. I think I have it set for 1,000. I may just include it so it doesn't do that a whole bunch. We go into our camera, we go into our behaviors, third person styling, attributes. Far plane is 300. I may increase that to 400 or 500 just so that it can view more, and it's not totally cutting out everything. But you saw that the frame rate was about 61 FPS, which is capped at 60 FPS. That's what the engine does. Pretty sure you can get it above that. Okay, I'm going to load up HTML. This is on the Edge, or Exploder engine. We're hovering around 30 to 40 FPS, depending on where you are. At this point, we'll probably keep the 300 far plane filter. It's not really filter, but your distance rendering at 300, just so that your HTML render and whatever search engine that you're using, it's not pushed a lot. We found out that a lot of people who were trying to render it on lower end devices said that there was lag, but people playing it on not hardcore gaming devices, but with higher end netbooks, notebooks, weren't having any issues, but certain tablets and lower end netbooks were having issues. Again, it's just those internal Intel cards aren't 100% as good, especially if you're running it through your HTML. It's running the search engine and it's running the game inside. It's just a couple of frames in FPS that shouldn't really matter, especially if you're running on an exe, a executable program, it doesn't matter. But it does matter because you're having the computer render whatever it's seeing on the screen. But it's playable. It's holding at 35 to 38 FPS. So we're good right now. If it drops, we may have to shorten the render view, but at that point it might be an issue. But yeah, that's the tutorials you're going to be seeing going on. At this point, I think this is pretty much it for the video. I just wanted to explain like what's been going on. This project we're hoping to have it finished by August, September, because we're working on it right now. We have to submit it to all the sites because we're just running on dev licenses now to have a group of like 100 people test it and work on it, and then implement the AI and make sure that it's working, because they're working on it. They work in their own little example files, but when you actually work inside of a game, you may have bug problems. But yeah, that's about the size of a basic level. Else you're going to have huge frame drops, because if we switch over to wireframe, yeah, that's where you get most of your issues, is the terrain itself. The actual objects themselves don't have an issue. And then you can build a level, and then you can just merge all the meshes together, which cuts down. And then you can just, there's an option to merge selected meshes, and then there's one where you can cut out triangles that you don't need. Like right now, since this is all flat ground, like in Sculptress, I would remove all of these triangles. Actually, what you could do, and I might show an example of performance, is if you export the height map for this and then recreate it in Sculptress, and then remove pretty much all of the triangles where it is flat, or where you're not going to be editing anymore, you would see probably a 5 to 10 FPS boost, because it's just not rendering these triangles, because these are all editable, and it would be a slight decrease of GPU load, especially on lower end Android devices and HTML rendering. Again, those are for lower end devices. If you're running, a decent computer, I'm not saying something with NVIDIA or AMD card, but with a decent Intel GPU, that's somewhat like a full-size laptop, you're not gonna have an issue, you're not gonna have a problem. But if you're running like a tablet notebook or a netbook or something like that, or an Intel tablet, you are gonna have an issue. Android devices, though, we haven't seen a huge hit though, so that wouldn't be really a problem. So, all right, guys, this is enough of me rambling. The next couple of videos are literally just going to be kind of like slight replays of some previous stuff with some slight changes, because we've updated some stuff, so we want to keep all that like in its own file, updated, all that stuff. So you might want to skip those if you want to, just brief or just brush over them and see if there's anything new. I'll mostly say it in the beginning of the video, and then we'll go into some like AI stuff, effects, rendering views, animations, so updating all of our animations, and then going into like actual like problem solving inside the video game, and then moving on to exporting them to like HTMLs, what you need to know, what you don't need to know, Android, the Windows Store, because that's actually going to be pretty interesting, exporting the first time into the Windows Store, putting ad rev on all this stuff. If you do that type of stuff, we are deciding if we want to do that, or just make it a fully free game that's for you guys to play without any ad stuff. So okay, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. Like, subscribe, comment down below. If you have any questions or examples that you would like to see in this project, I can make separate files. So even though we're not going to be putting it into this game, I can talk about it if it's similar to something that I'm working on in this project. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. You guys have a good one.